Good evening and welcome to Ram Ranching 101. That is flying tackle and using tackle tactics to maximize your potential as a tackle pilot in annoying the enemy fleet and facilitating kills for the rest of our fleet. We're going to go over the mindset, the communication, the fits, and the tactics that will allow you and your fleet to kill the most nano gangs that enter our space, and in general, assist the fleet on strat ops. Ram Ranch, it rocks. Cowboys love communication, coordination, speed, and big, hard, throbbing props. Ram is the prefix we use when we describe our tackle. As it dives into the enemy fleet, seeking to get tackle on blinging targets or to grief the enemy FC. As I would like you to direct your attention to our fleet message of the day, or MOTD, please click the YouTube link, the application of coordination and fit. Give that a watch. For those of you that may have just joined, please click the YouTube link in the MOTD.
It's not breaking.
How far are they off you?
60?
Overdrive active.
Other tackle get 150
Alright, he's
away from
breaking,
them.
he's breaking.
I think we're in a reload there.
Keep on him, overheat.
Angela getting wet.
Fuck. Focus back on
Docking
Alfonso.
request accepted.
Is your next target. If I could get Web or, not Web, Pointer Scram on the Hugin. Alright, anchor up on Silver. Still focus on the Hugin.
How far is the Hugin off of you?
55, moving forward, so 70.
Alright.
To warp 100, you'll line on him.
Yep.
Move towards them, Silver. People anchor up on Silver.
Other tackle be 150 away from that Hugin when I land on grid, okay?
Guys,
Anchor up. Copy. Okay. You can anchor up on me now.
Point Scrambler Hugin. Need secondaries.
Everything on the Hugin. Everything on the Hugin.
Still reloading.
Good, Bubble. Move towards their FC, the Scimitar.
Reps to cuz. Por favor.
Hold that Hugin at all costs.
Reps to cuz.
Let's grind.
Alright, we got the Hugin at least.
Yep.
Did you die, cuz?
Yes, I did. But we're gonna kill a Hugin. And I want the web if it drops.
Yeah. Hugin's dead. Alright, they're too far now.
You can catch up. Oh, no, they're walking.
Yeah,
Ooh,
they're
I
too
definitely
far.
want the web.
if someone could...
Nice.
Oh, man.
Mwah.
Sexy kill.
Link the web and
Alright,
fleet.
if everybody's
Bot
done
mods
watching that
off.
video, drop me
Drop
a
mods
exit
off,
feed.
anchor up. Links red.
Awesome, that looks like everybody's done. Grim Ghost, the tracking disruptor. No, that's actually important, but I don't want to dive specifically into that fit. That fit is, the handout is just so you can participate in the tactics today. But it serves more than just a heatsink. So what we observe there is communication and coordination. Before that video started recording, I had previously attempted to tackle the Hugin, and you can see that I warped off in hull, so I barely lived. So what I was doing there was talking with the FC to get an idea of what the fleet was doing, even though I was off grid. and we're going to cover how to do that today. So what happened there is I was communicating with the FC with where the enemy fleet was. I already knew where they were aligned to. They were aligned back to the Fortizar grid. So I warped to the Fortizar to both repair and to be warping in. When I warped back to the FC, I was communicating what range I would warp back to him at and like where the enemy was because they were aligned in that direction. So when I warped in, that's how I was able to warp in right next to the Hugin. It's because I knew their speed, I knew their direction they were traveling, and I just got in front of them and warped back to them. So it was a straight line from the FC to them and me coming in. And our doctrine has actually been set up, our tackle doctrine has actually been set up for a long time to maximize the potential of combat interceptors to get tackle and the potential of the assault frig in the form of the Jaguar to maintain tackle. You'll see some of those fits. I have modified them. Those are my personal fits that I use. If you want to use the Alliance Doctrine fits and see if that works better for you, those are available in the Brave Military Doctrines page on our webpage, which is a quick Google away. Brave Military Doctrines, and you'll have to authenticate and you can log in and see those fits. The fits that I have there I recommend because it maximizes the speed of the combat interceptor, and the Jaguar is the same fit as the Alliance fit, but it has 2 salvagers because it's a time-honored tradition in Brave that we salvage and loot and we clean fields after we destroy our enemies to make Brave go stronger and make your wallet grow fatter. So with the in an ideal scenario, the way our doctrine has been set up is for that RAMRANCHER, that Raptor with its bonus to overheated prop mod speed. It's set up to get tackle quickly. But as you saw, once the enemy fleet primaried me, I died very quickly. So it's a thing you can't throw away. It's easy to throw your ship away, but you got to spend it wisely. And the entire fit overall is 30 mil, and that ship, if you look at the Z kill link, is going to say, what does it say? It says 253 mil. That's not counting the 2 abyssal webs that it had on board. So say I killed tenfold the worth by using that ship the way I did in that instant. And that it has been a common occurrence for me using this ship and using these tactics and using this approach to it and mindset. So first things first, when you are flying tackle, I always approach it with the mindset of I'm there to facilitate a kill. I am there to make sure that our fleet has an opportunity to kill this person. And the way I make sure that I maximize that potential is I'm communicating with the fleet, I'm communicating with the FC, I'm communicating with other tackle to make sure, because I know that I'm going to get primaried. I'm tackling something blingy. I know that I'm going to die, but I'm going to make sure that thing dies. Does everybody get where I'm going with that?
Yep. Roger.
Yep. So in an ideal scenario, every combat interceptor, so every Raptor has a Jaguar that's partnered with it. You can see that I linked at the top of the MOTD a chat channel to join. And I want to make this a Brave thing as we go forward. So everybody join that chat channel. I gave you a handout crow, pick whether you're a Raptor or a Jaguar and do what it says in the MOTD. You're either or. You're either a Raptor or you're a Jaguar. So if the 3 remaining of you, yep. But for this case, you just pick one. Okay, so a Jaguar is going to J, and then you're also going to pick your Raptor partner. You're going to link back their name. So you just drag their name into the chat box and you hit enter like this. So it's going to look like that. And what you then do.
What are you guys looking at? Where do you see whether you're a Jaguar or a Raptor? I
You're
don't see
picking
that
one,
yet.
and you're shouting right now, Miner.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, am I supposed to see text going somewhere? I'm not seeing anything come up in the fleet text box.
Scroll down. It's an issue with the new update, but it should be going. There's people typing things. If you can't see it, just scroll down in the chat box.
Weird. No, it didn't stop scrolling. It just is scrolled all the way down. Let me try rejoining fleet. Oh, that just popped up. Oh, the channel, right?
Yep. In the channel itself.
Yeah, sorry, I just got into the fleet.
All right, so if you don't have a partner, you're wrong at this point. So everybody add your partners. And we should have three groups at this point, because I will not be participating, so don't look to me to group up. I know it's slow and awkward, and this is new because we haven't done this before, but when I make this a thing going forward, and we make this a thing and make this part of our culture, it's going to allow us to do great things.
So I added Jaguar to my watch list, right, as a Raptor?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
So the Raptor in this case, because I'm saying the Raptor is the combat interceptor, it's the guy that's really good at getting the initial tackle, but really poor at holding it over time. So your job is to get the closest warp in you can on the enemy fleet, and to rapidly approach them and apply long point to something blingy. As you're still approaching them, you will turn on your scram as you fly past them. Because of your great speed, you're going to slingshot out of scram range, and that's not a bad thing in itself. But then you can adjust your command to orbit, and you will orbit them at a range where you are trying to stay outside of their potential scram or web. If they're a kitey thing, you have to worry about that. It's not so much a deal in big fleet fights, because everybody's going to be following primaries and whatnot, and it's going to be very rare that somebody might put their drones on you, but you're not going to really receive primary in a huge fleet fight. Not very likely to, and if you are, that's wonderful, because if a fleet primary is an interceptor, what they're doing is they're essentially sacrificing like all their damage roll to kill something a very small ISK value. So it's great in the metagame. It's bad for you because you're going to die, but you're saving a much more expensive ship of ours that could be getting shot. So in doing what you're doing and flying bravely, you are then saving your comrades and then saving the Alliance from a meta perspective, if you think about it like that. Yes, the Condors are okay for now. You can pretend to be either. You just claim you're one or the other, and you can participate in the tactics. And the ship isn't so important for this class as the tactics are. So what we're going to do now is we're going to undock. And now that we've undocked, I want everybody to shift and click your prop mod. That should bring it up with a solid green color. This is called pre-overheating the module. This is important because the first time you open that the first time you activate that module, once you're on grid, you will be using the overheated prop, and you'll be going very fast for that ship, which is what you want to do when you're approaching the enemy to try to get tackle on them. You also want to do the shift click for your long point, so your warp disruptor, commonly referred to as a long point. You want to shift click that as well. And what that's going to do when you activate your prop mod and you start burning in is it's going to give your enemy very little time to react to your presence before you are close on top of them and orbiting them at an accelerated rate. once you have long point, I normally then shift click the module again to make sure that I stop overheating it, or I might choose to remain overheating it. And as I'm flying past that ship, because you will overshoot them, because you are flying, if you're flying my Raptor fit, you're flying nearly 10k a second at that point. So you're going to apply your scram. And what that's going to do is shut off their microwarpdrive, and you already have them tackled still. So not a big deal if you don't maintain scram on your flyby. Actually preferable in some cases. So all this instruction is for the combat interceptors. The Jaguars are going to have a slightly different tactic because you're tankier and you're built to hold scram on something. So what I want everybody to do now is that you shift click to your prop mod. I want you to activate that pre-overheated prop mod and just observe how long it takes for you to burn out that prop module. So we should be 1 cycle. Two cycles.
2.5 for me.
3. 4.
Added 3.
And 5. And I have burnt out my prop module at 5 rotations. So 50 seconds of moving at near 10k a second for myself. So we're back to the keep star, and everybody is going to dock and repair that module. When you burn out a module, you cannot repair it with nanite repair paste. Nanite repair paste I am linking in fleet. And you always want to have some of this in your cargo, because as tackle you will be overheating a lot. If you're not overheating, you're not flying your tackle to its top potential.
That also burnt out the Disruptor.
That will also burn out your Disruptor based on your thermodynamic skills and the proximity of your Disruptor. That actually matters, of where you put your modules and what order they go. So
yeah,
if
and
you
it's
go
that
ahead.
tracking Disruptor is 76% damage too.
Docking request accepted.
And that tracking Disruptor, you mentioned it earlier, is important if you're facing somebody with guns. So you're going to impede their ability to provide counter fire on yourself as you maintain long point. That's how that Condor is set up. But not really the focus of this class, but that's just how the Dojo Condor is set up in theory to work. So everybody, once you're docked up, and if you don't know how to repair, just follow my instruction. You're going to go up to the top right. You're going to see a crossed spanner and a screwdriver. You're going to click on that. And what I like to do once I have the repair shop window open is I'll Control A. So I just repair everything all at one go. And you tell it to repair and repair all. And what you have to do before you undock then is you have to online that module back again, because you'll undock and the module will be repaired, but you'll have to spend 95% of your capacitor to
dock in there.
online it again. Yes. Let me jump over to my alt, because I will have to set something up. Okay, as I'm getting that ready, just make sure you're undocked and make sure all your modules are active and you're fully repaired.
Warp drive active.
So I've been mentioning when you're the combat interceptor, you're going to approach the enemy as quickly as possible. I do not mean actually like approach as in like the approach command. What you want to do is you want to orbit. And what orbiting does, you set your default orbit range. You can click on anything in space right now, and you go up to the window where you see the different approach, warp within, orbit, and you're going to right-click orbit and set default distance. You want that set at 500. You want that set at 500 for when you're flying tackle. The reason for this is the orbit command will allow you to maintain inertia if the thing that you're orbiting to warps off. It would be very bad if you were approaching something, because what that does is it stops your ship. And in tie-dye, that becomes a big thing, and essentially you're sitting there if your prop drive lit with 0 speed, which means you have 0 transversal, which means pretty much anything that's gun-based can one-shot you if you're in range. Which is a bad day for you, not ideal, not how we want to spend our combat interceptors. We want to kill the enemy. So everybody right now aligned to sun, and we will have an exercise there. I hope everybody remembered what ship you're in. And
I got a problem.
Go ahead, Miner.
Sorry to interrupt you. I got a problem. I'm still in station. I tried to see. I hit repair all, right, and it's still telling me that there's 2 modules are damaged to turn them on.
Try removing them from your ship and putting them back in. Sometimes that's an issue. And try then going to the fitting window. So you're going to hit Alt F, bring up the fitting window, and then try to online them again. Sometimes Eve does that. That's just an Eve thing. That's how you can get around it. Everybody else, warp to sun at 0. Miner, join us when you're ready.
Warp drive
That worked, thank you.
active.
I think you're still shouting too minor.
It shouldn't be an issue here because I think Dojo isn't linked to any of the other channels, or somebody would be in here yelling at us already.
Okay.
But that's a thing to fix for later, definitely. So as you can see, there is a friendly Jackdaw on grid with us. For the purpose of this exercise, he is the enemy fleet. He is something blingy. He is that Hugin that we had in the video. So how we typically approach this from an intelligent perspective is that we'd see where he's aligning to. We note his speed, and we note, you can have me as the enemy. Think of me as the friendly FC that you are going to communicate with. So combat interceptors, you are going to note those 3 things, and you're going to communicate how you might get a good warp in on this enemy Jackdaw. And what Jaguars I want you to do is I actually want you to get distance from that Jackdaw so you are ready to warp into your buddy when you see your buddy has tackle on that Jackdaw. So Jaguars, you can use your prop mod and use your Q key to move in a direction that gets you further away from that Jackdaw. And you can be ready. So my combat interceptors, if you could, are up in fleet, and I will talk you through what you need to do. Okay, Mem Callan, do you have a mic, buddy?
I have a mic.
Alright. So, what you're going to do is you observe that the Jackdaw is aligning back to the Keepstar. So what you're going to do then is you're going to warp somewhere on that grid.
Do the Keepstar, right?
Yes. And other combat scepters, pay attention. Jaguars, pay attention. So we're engaging this fleet, and we're having a hard time tackling them. We need to tackle them because our fleet's slower, and we can't apply DPS to them without getting tackle on them. So I need tackle on this fleet. So then you are going to say, hey FC,
Hey, FC.
Tell me where, or tell me how far the enemy fleet is off of you.
FC, how far is the enemy fleet off of you?
Oh, they're about 70 off of me, and they're going really slow at the moment, so you might want to try warping at 100. You're going to land nearly on top of them. So then you'd right-click me off of the watch list. I am the FC, you should always have the FC on your watch list. And you're going to select Warp 2 at 100. And that should put you right on top of that jackdaw. Do that now. And as you are in warp, you're going to shift-click your prop mod and your long point so that they are ready and overheated as soon as you land on grid. And you are going to hold W and click that jackdaw. As you're approaching, there you go. And this Raptor's buddy, that Jaguar, is then going to warp to 0 on your buddy and get scram on that jackdaw too. And just like that, that play, that dance, is what is going to make us kill really blingy stuff in very cheap ships. Alright, very good. Next Raptor. Does everybody understand what's going on here? Are there any questions about the tactics?
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard to find a direction to come from 100, you know, initially.
This is an ideal scenario. So, kitey fleets tend to burn, they tend to align to something so that when they get in trouble they can warp off, right? That's just what they do, that's how they operate. The name of the game is getting close to the enemy fleet through warping in. So this can be done off of a wreck, this could be done off of bookmarks, this could be done off of, you know, positioning another friendly, another tackle 100 forward of them. You can burn around and like completely circle around, skirt outside of their weapons range, whatever you have to do, but get somewhere where you're providing warp-ins for other tackle. There are multiple ways to do this. This is just a way that I want to demonstrate with like communication and coordination. So this is just a method of getting to where you want to be. But the combat interceptor, you want to put yourself in a spot where you can quickly get tackle on somebody before the fleet can react. Because I've always thought of it in EVE as the weakness of every fleet is just about how fast the FC can talk, really. Because the FC might be able to see and process all the information, but he can't give orders fast enough because he only has one mouth. And how we're going to get ahead as Brave is we're going to start enabling pilots within specific skill sets to start having more initiative on their own, but working in a coordinated manner. Does everybody understand what I'm saying with that? So as tackle, you have to take initiative. You have to be cognizant of what the fleet is trying to do, but getting those warp-ins and working with your buddy has to happen at a reflex level, and it's very possible. We just need to practice these things. We need to get used to these things. So the next Raptor group wants to give that a try. Or even, I am a wreck, right? Think of me as a wreck. I am just a warp-in point on this jackdaw. So whenever you see an opening, you're going to warp to me, and then you're going to try to get tackle on that jackdaw. And your Jaguar buddy is going to back you up. So once you have the Jaguar on the tackle, the combat interceptor can then disengage and warp off and save yourself, because you'll die very quick. Even ideal circumstances, even when you're broadcasting for reps and you're getting reps, you're squishy. If enough things that are meant to kill light tackle get on you, you will die. So it's important for you to do your job and to get out and reset so you can do your job again. So who is my next Raptor 2B? Who is my next combat interceptor?
I'll get it, but I need to get 150 off of you before I can warp to you. I'm too close, so I'm moving out.
I'm actually going to turn the prop on the jackdaw on for this one, so we're going to start moving. Jaguars, your main goal is to get 150 plus at all times, so you can warp into your buddy at all times and be aligned to that enemy fleet. If you're aligned to someone in the enemy fleet, you're going to be aligned to your buddy when he warps in. So if people are dying, you have a warp in. And don't let bubbles scare you as tackle.
Warping to 0.
Yeah, that was a weird one to get used to. Like, if you're in tackle, just leave the bubble.
Yeah, bubbles aren't so big of a deal for you. Just, you know, Q move out. We haven't gone over Q move. Q move is actually using the Q on your keyboard to manually set where you want to go in space, instead of approaching or orbiting or keeping at range of something. So very important tactically. And how you use that is you hold Q, and that'll set a distance and a direction on the north, south, east axis. And yes, there are north, south, east, and west in EVE. If you turn on your tactical overlay, which is by default Control D, you will see a series of rings with the associated numbers. Those are marked in kilometers, and you will see one off-color compass rose point. So once that scram goes up, where's that Jaguar buddy?
Scram on target.
Where's that Jaguar buddy warping in? Your buddy has tackle. You're there to back him up. What's going on? Who is your buddy?
My buddy. My buddy's Tramadade.
I think he left.
Oh, he dropped fleet. He must have disconnected at some point. Anyways, another Jaguar step in, take over. Or heck, all Jaguars warp in, because we only have one target at this point. But that's basically how the game's going to be played. Is you buddy up with your buddy, you add them to watch list, you put them like first among all the other people, or second after the FC. And that's how you do it. You're going to hold them in place, and you're going to, depending on what the FC wants, you're going to broadcast them as target, because they are now the most vulnerable person, especially if they're a micro-warp driving fleet. They are now the most vulnerable target on the field, because you have slowed them down considerably, and their fleet, if they're a maneuver fleet, is going to leave them behind, which means they're going to be out of range of reps. And hopefully the enemy fleet either, you know, cuts them off and then they die, and then we get somebody really easy to kill because we don't have issues tracking them anymore, or it forces the enemy fleet to slow down, in which that's a better net gain for us, or they have to start primarying tackle, which again, because I explained earlier, is a net gain for us. So all good things, and all flying bravely will get you there.
So can you put this in a real world like scenario real quick? So like if I'm sitting here, we're all chilling, and then a fleet moves in, you know, and they're bothering our people, and we decide to act on it. Then somebody has to call out, do I have a RAMRANCHER buddy?
So what you would do in a fleet is, I'm going to try to make it a thing to join a tackle channel. It doesn't have to be RAMRANCHERs, it could be Brave Tackle. I tried getting into that channel earlier, but basically you're going to organize yourselves in the same manner. And you can go down, every one of our fleets has a tackle channel, which you should join, and then use that to organize who's going to be whose buddy. And it's just as simple as identifying yourself in that fleet chat of, I'm a combat interceptor, I'm a Raptor, cool. I'm a Jaguar, cool, we're buddies. And just having that on key. And Jaguars, your job is basically to watch the combat interceptors and wait for when they start to go to get tackle on something. And once they do, you can audible it. You can say, hey, buddy, I've got tackle, or ideally, that guy's already watching you and waiting. He's waiting for that moment to click warp to you at 0. So this could happen in any fleet. This ideally is going to be applied against kitey stuff that comes into our space, because they are exceptionally vulnerable to this stuff. Now they're set up to kill tackle, but they're also pretty weak. So if our FC knows that you're going to do this, all he has to do is order the fleet to like overheat their prop mods so they can close the distance while you get tackle on something. Apply DPS to that guy, and that guy dies. That's what happened with the Hugin. He was the linchpin of their whole fleet because he was providing range control. When anybody tried to tackle any of them, he would web them. Where I got him is that I was able to warp in so close to him that he didn't have time to react quick enough to prevent me from getting scram on him. And then the rest of his fleet, if you review the video, kept going, which allowed us to kill that Hugin, and then made the fleet warp off because they didn't have that anymore. They didn't have that tactical edge anymore.
So faction warfare is a big problem. That kitey shit.
It could be applied to faction warfare. I am not proficient in faction warfare myself.
Well, you got a big circle radius, you know, and you have to be within that circle. You warp to 0, you know they're going to come within 5,000 meters of the flag in the center, you know. So you're a raptor standing outside that border, and your guy says, "Warp to me now." Man, that'd be easy.
So it's like ESS with warping?
Yeah, with no bubbles.
I like that.
It's freaking awesome, believe me. But it gets boring because it's tedious. It's like the same thing over and over and over.
As mentioned in chat, standing fleet would be excellent practice for this. Also a great way to make ISK, because you are the fastest thing there and you get to choose your target. So everybody's following with what I'm saying. And when you realize that the big blingy enemy ship is about to go down, he doesn't have smart bombs, approach that sucker. Approach him, turn your guns on, try to get that final kill, scoop the green, blue, or red loot, or if you're blessed for every purple loot. Yeah, get rich off of this stuff. Or if you sacrifice like I did in that video, like I sacrificed, like there's no way I was gonna get that loot, but it was like, I straight up died to give you this kill. I want the blingy stuff if it drops. Like, and that should be honored. That has been honored in every case I've asked for it, but sometimes I'm just there to provide a kill mill to get other people happy about engaging stuff where they wouldn't normally kill stuff. If we continually form caracals against, you know, stuff that is meant to counter them, we're not gonna do well, and then like our pilots aren't having fun. So it's kind of a social responsibility to use our skills to provide kills for the fleet.
I don't think anything has ever been killed that hasn't been tackled first.
And I know very few ships that have survived with a Jaguar holding them down. Which is why I say use the combat interceptor to get that initial tackle and the Jaguar to back them up. Very seldom. And gosh, if you have two Jaguars on something, that thing's good as dead. Alright, if anybody would like to continue these tactics, I can go on doing that. If you have any open questions for tackle, I can go into that, but the content of this lesson is just about done.
Thank you, FC.
No problem, my honor.
Thanks, FC.
I could certainly do some more practice if anybody's sticking around.
Alright, let's get that set up. Everybody drop your scrams on the Jackdaw and I'll get that rolling again. Fortunately, this class has been recorded, so after some light editing, I will be able to post this to the Brave Dojo, and that will be uploaded.
Awesome, because I got disconnected right in the middle of it.
Yeah, we missed your presence there. Did notice that. I'm sorry. Did you miss? Do you feel like you've missed anything, or something I can explain to you?
As soon as we warped to the sun, I disconnected. So.
Okay. just real
I wonder
quick.
if that was a server thing. That was when I got bumped too.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Might have been. But real quick, what we went over is basically how the Jaguar partners with the Combat Interceptor, and using the Combat Interceptor to get a quick warp in on the enemy fleet, and then pre-overheating the prop and pre-overheating the long point, so you can get that tackle quickly before they have time to react. As you're flying by them, you apply your scram, which will shut off their microwarpdrive, and that's a signal for your Jaguar buddy to warp in and also apply his scram. And once the Jaguar like tags in, the Combat Interceptor can clear off and reset to do that again.
Okay.
That's basically it, and then it's just practicing the getting into a separate channel. Doesn't have to be Ram Ranchers. Anybody that's flying tackle can, hey, this is a tackle channel. When like a fleet's formed, just make a channel. Make a channel, start organizing yourselves like that. And we're going to increase the effectiveness and bring tackle out of something that's like, oh, and if you can't fly anything else, fly tackle, into tackle is important for this fleet. This is how we get our kills. I believe we can get there. It's just practicing this communication, coordination, practicing this buddy team thing, practicing. It's practice. And once we get it down, there's very little actual communication that has to happen, other than general, you know, hold off, pull off, get tackle on something, but that can happen much faster. And that's a load off the FC when he doesn't have to think about how he's going to micromanage the tackle, when he's focused on calling primaries and doing whatnot.
So the Jaguar was there to back up the Raptor tackle then?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's
That's hence the reason you told us to go in the opposite direction away from it.
Yes. So if a Jaguar can do the job of a Combat Interceptor, you just have to be exceedingly good, because you have to get such a drop on the enemy before they realize that you're coming in, and then you get called a target. You'll spend more time chasing the enemy. You maximize your time in scram range, and you're already in scram range, and that's already been set up for you. Then you're flying to the best strengths of that hull.
Okay.
And just quickly, how to use the Jaguar to maximize your staying power on grid is you'd pulse your microwarpdrive if you need to get on top of the enemy, which you shouldn't, because the Raptor already had him scrammed. So you should land pretty dang close to him. You're going to then overheat your afterburner, pre-overheat your ancillaries, and if you get called primary, or you just can't handle the DPS, or you want to survive just a little bit more, hit your ADC and broadcast for reps. If you're in reps of Logi, they should give you priority, because you shouldn't be broadcasting unless you have something tackled, and therefore that gives you a priority on reps, because things shooting at a Jaguar with its AB on, orbiting with overheated AB on, orbiting so fast around somebody that a lot of the DPS just isn't going to apply to you. So like 1 or 2 Logi can keep you fully repped up, because the DPS that does get through from a large fleet is going to be minuscule, and then the whole fleet's shooting at you, so they're not applying DPS to anything else. Alright, let's get this Jaguar going again. Or let's get this Jackdaw going. Does anybody else have any closing questions?
Get it to stop yelling or shouting.
Oh, I'll link that in Fleet. Just a second. There's a GIF that explains what to do.
And they just tackled a Jackdaw in real life. Standing fleet, I heard that. So there's some good practice to be had.
Yep, you can practice your individual skills in your individual and these techniques we just went over in Standing Fleet. That's a good way to do it. Just find yourself a partner. And unfortunately, that Jackdaw is not for nuking. That's not a dojo handout. Next time I'll use a Condor, and I'll sacrifice that. But at this time, class is concluded. I am stopping the video recorder, and we can have Brave After Dark now.